So if you are a licensed automotive facility and you've done things like mechanics liens or garage holders liens or towing liens, and you had a guy or a company in the past that did these liens for you, you may have noticed that they've now disappeared. Question comes up is, why are all the mechanics lien companies going out of business, closing down, not doing this anymore? There used to be, on Craigslist and on Facebook, all these little mom and pop companies working from some little office that did mechanics liens or claimed to do mechanics liens. And can't find him anymore. The calls we get every single day is, hey, my guy that used to do mechanics liens, I can't find him. He's not around anymore. Why is that? Well, it's not a coincidence. It's not just a random thing that your person is not available. This is happening all over the country. And the reason why is because the mechanics lien process is a very detailed, tedious process of documenting and filing and notices. And in the past, some providers of mechanics lien services found ways to not do all the steps, or they did it improperly and they could slide it through the system. The problem is the 50 states Department of Motor Vehicles, all their commissioners over the last few years have had roundtables and committees and boards of inquiry that have looked at these mechanics lien processes and found out there's a very high degree of fraud. There's over 50% fraud in some states of mechanics liens applications. So they got to the point where they're just rejecting them if they're not 100% correct. There's no leeway anymore. Most states now have a investigative committee where every single mechanics lien document package is reviewed and audited to make sure everything's correct. Make sure all the notices were sent, to make sure the initial filing with the DMV was done properly, to make sure that the right time frames are in play, where you didn't go past the tolling time where you waited 3 years before you started. And this is causing a lot of these providers to really not be able to do it anymore because they used to charge $100 or $200 to do a mechanics lien, and it should really be an 8 to 10 hour job of doing work, but they found ways to kind of slide it through without really having to do all the steps. Well, now the states are cracking down. They're saying you have to do all the steps, and at that level of involvement, it's not really worth doing anymore. So you can still do a mechanics lien in most states. There's a few states that actually shut it down temporarily just because there was so much fraud. For a period of time, Indiana was shut down. I think they might be back online. There's a couple other states that stopped all mechanics liens until they can get a handle on the fraud. But you probably can do one as long as you do the paperwork properly. The problem now is it's a lot more difficult, right? So our website will give you instructions on how to make it easy. We have a service where we can assist with it. The problem is most repair shops just want to just pay a fee and not have to do anything and just forget about it, the whole thing, until the title magically shows up. The problem is that's not possible. Most states require that the actual garage signs the form, mails the letters, right? So we can do all the paperwork and we can prepare the documents and get all your filings in a row, but there's still things you're going to have to do. You're going to have to sign some forms. You're going to have to get a copy of your license. There's some things that actually have to be done by the actual applicant. The other part of it is the states now require that you accept bids, right? You have to have a date and time where people can come forward and offer you money for this car, put a public bid. Now, you don't have to accept the bid. You can reject it and keep the car for yourself, but you have to at least offer that, which means that's another step that has to be done by the person. What we recommend doing is taking a look, instead of mechanics lien, at what's called a civil lien or a court order title. It's a lot faster. You don't have to have these statutory 30, 60, 90-day waiting periods in between each step. You can go right to the clerk of court in the county where you are doing business and filing a petition, an affidavit, letter of non-interest, and have the court give you a judgment. You can just go right to the DMV to get a title. It's another option to look at. Many clients are looking at that and doing that first before they even think about mechanics lien. So that's a little bit of a background on why these mechanics lien companies are not around anymore. There's a few still around, but most of them are finding that it's not really a viable business model to do these, just because of the way that the federal government has gotten involved with the processing of mechanics liens document.